Alright, settle in, because we're about to tackle one of geography's most delightfully confusing paradoxes. You've got Greenland, right? Sounds lush, verdant, maybe even tropical. Except it's not. Greenland is overwhelmingly covered in a colossal sheet of ice. We're talking 80% ice, give or take. Then you have Iceland. Sounds cold, frozen, maybe a land of perpetual winter. But Iceland is surprisingly green. It has rolling hills, dramatic valleys, and a climate that's far milder than its name suggests. So, what's the deal? Why is the Greenland full of ice and the Iceland relatively green? Is it some ancient cartographer's prank? A cosmic joke played on anyone trying to remember basic geography? The answer, my friends, is a fantastic blend of history, marketing, and ocean currents. It's a story that takes us back over 1,000 years to the age of the Vikings. Yes, the Vikings, those seafaring, exploring, occasionally pillaging folks who really got around back in the day. They were the first Europeans to stumble upon both of these North Atlantic islands. Iceland was actually discovered first by Norse explorers. There's a tale of a guy named Nadod who got blown off course and landed there, calling it Snaland or Snowland. Not exactly inviting. Later, settlers arrived, most famously Ingolfur Arnason, who is traditionally considered the first permanent Norse settler of Iceland. They found a land that, while sometimes icy, especially in the fjords, was certainly habitable. Now, enter Erik the Red. A bit of a character, Erik. He was a Norse explorer, known for having a bit of a temper and a knack for getting into trouble. Specifically, Erik the Red was exiled from Iceland. Twice, actually. The second time, around the year 982 CE, he decided he'd had enough of Iceland's legal system and sailed west, seeking new lands. And sail west he did. He eventually found a massive island, far larger than Iceland. This was the land we now call Greenland. Erik spent about 3 years exploring this new territory during his exile. He found fjords that were habitable, at least during the warmer months, and some coastal areas that were indeed green. But here's where the marketing genius, or perhaps mischief, comes in. When Erik the Red returned to Iceland after his exile was up, he wanted to attract settlers to this new land he'd found. He needed to make it sound appealing. He needed a hook, something that would make people pack up their lives and sail into the unknown, across treacherous seas. So, he named it Greenland. Groenland in Old Norse. This wasn't necessarily a perfectly accurate description of the entire island, which, as we know, is mostly ice. But it was a brilliant piece of early advertising. Erik the Red himself reportedly said that people would be more tempted to go there if it had a good name. He understood the power of branding, even back in the 10th century. Imagine the pitch, forget icy Iceland. Come to Greenland. It's green, it's fertile, it's, well, let's just say it has green parts. It was a deliberate tactic designed to portray the land as far more fertile and inviting than it largely was. It worked too. A settlement was established and lasted for centuries. Meanwhile, Iceland got its name from those earlier explorers. They encountered significant ice, particularly drift ice in the northern fjords. While much of Iceland was, and is, green and habitable, those initial icy encounters solidified its colder image in the minds of the natives. It wasn't a marketing ploy, it was a more direct, albeit perhaps incomplete, description of what they saw. So, part of the answer is simply historical accident and Viking real estate strategy. But that's not the whole story. Climate plays a massive, ongoing role in why these two islands are so different today. Iceland benefits significantly from a major ocean current, the North Atlantic Current. This is an extension of the Gulf Stream, carrying relatively warm water from the tropics up towards the North Atlantic. This warm current acts like a natural heater for Iceland. It moderates the island's temperatures, keeping its coastal areas, where most people live, much milder than you'd expect for a land so close to the Arctic Circle. It keeps the ports ice-free year-round and allows for that surprising amount of green landscape. Greenland, on the other hand, is situated much further north. A huge portion of it lies within the Arctic Circle. Its climate is inherently much harsher, much colder. It doesn't receive the same warming influence from the North Atlantic Current across its vast expanse. Furthermore, Greenland's sheer size and its dominant feature contribute significantly to its cold climate. That massive ice sheet isn't just sitting there, it's actively creating its own weather system. The high elevation of the ice sheet means temperatures are naturally lower. Ice and snow also reflect sunlight, keeping the surface cool and preventing warming. This creates a feedback loop. Cold temperatures allow ice to build, and the ice sheet itself reinforces the cold. Just look at the winter temperatures. Reykjavik, Iceland's capital, might hover around freezing or just below in January. The interior of Greenland, on the ice sheet, we're talking bone-chilling temperatures, often tens of degrees below 0 Celsius, sometimes much, much colder. So, while the names might have been influenced by Viking intentions, Greenland as a sales pitch, and Iceland perhaps named more literally or even strategically to deter others, the climate realities are undeniable. Greenland's name was more aspirational than descriptive. It was a classic case of over-promising and under-delivering, at least in terms of widespread greenery. Some historians even speculate that Iceland's name might have been intentionally off-putting. Maybe the early settlers wanted to keep others away from their new home by making it sound less appealing. Oh, Iceland. Yeah, it's just ice. Nothing to see here. Definitely don't come. It's a fun thought, early Viking reverse psychology. Greenland, lush, Iceland, bruh. Beyond the historical naming and the major ocean currents, modern science highlights other differences. Iceland is incredibly geothermally active. It sits on a volcanic hotspot in the mid-Atlantic ridge. This means it's full of volcanoes, hot springs, geysers, and geothermal energy. This internal heat source doesn't make the whole island warm, but it certainly adds to its unique character and provides abundant renewable energy. Greenland, while geologically old, doesn't have this widespread geothermal activity influencing its surface climate in the same way. Its story is dominated by that ancient, immense ice sheet. And that ice sheet brings us to a crucial modern point: climate change. While Iceland's climate is moderated by currents and influenced by geothermal activity, Greenland's ice sheet is a stark indicator of global warming. That massive body of ice, built up over millennia, is melting at alarming rates. The cold fortress of Greenland is showing significant vulnerability to rising global temperatures. So, the paradox of the names, born from Viking history and perhaps a bit of ancient spin, is underscored by fundamental differences in geography, oceanography, and climate. Iceland, warmed by the North Atlantic current and buzzing with geothermal energy, lives up to its surprisingly green reality. Greenland, vast and mostly within the Arctic, remains dominated by its immense ice sheet, a cold giant named with a touch of hopeful exaggeration. The icy truth is that the names are a historical quirk, a relic of a time when perception was perhaps more important than perfect accuracy, especially when you were trying to sell real estate in a new world. But the climate reality is a powerful force, shaping these islands in ways that make their names seem like a geographical inside joke. It's a reminder that sometimes the most intriguing stories are found where history, geography, and a little bit of human nature collide. And in this case, it leaves us with a Greenland that's mostly ice and an Iceland that's surprisingly green. If you enjoyed this icy deep dive into Viking history, climate science, and one of geography's greatest tricks, like this video, comment with your favorite fact, and subscribe to the Turkish Odyssey for more captivating stories from history, science, and beyond.